So I just watched part of this video, a CBC Docs original, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And I mean, it's just one of the most unbelievable pieces of propaganda I've ever seen. And, if I had said the stuff that this video says, if I had said it 6 months ago, I would have been a conspiracy theorist. But this really goes to show that none of the COVID lockdowns or anything like that, it's not about the virus or saving lives. It's about a bigger agenda, the agenda that was on before any of this ever started. Extinction Rebellion, climate change, the new Green Deal, and all of that stuff. It's all wrapped together. It's all one giant bundle. And this video is going to show more proof of that. Plus just being unbelievable in humanizing the virus and dehumanizing the humans. So before we watch the video, I wanted to read the little intro blurb in the YouTube channel video. What does the current pandemic look like from the point of view of the COVID-19 virus? In this provocative and whimsical animated film, the virus voices his mission to save the planet. Since the beginning of time, King COVID reveals, viruses and humans have evolved together. While he acknowledges that past pandemics have had disastrous consequences for humans, he points out that civilization has learned valuable lessons from viruses as well. For example, the Black Plague swept through Europe in the mid-1300s and wiped out half the population. In its wake, wide-scale upheaval resulted in social, scientific, and cultural revolution. Europe emerged from the Dark Ages in the light of the Renaissance. With evocative animation, King COVID reminds us of our disastrous conditions, from air pollution to overpopulation. With the planet at the brink of destruction, the virus justifies having launched this pandemic to stop humans so they could change direction before destroying our shared habitat. King COVID poses the question, what will we learn from this moment? So, let's watch this fucked up piece of shit. So we're starting with the sounds and chaos of daily life. And I guess they're really focusing on the loudest, most obtrusive sounds. Reminds me of the start of that movie, was it with Michael Douglas, I think Falling Down.
Where do you think you're going? Going home. Hey! Hey!
And I guess lots of different movies kind of have the same theme going on. It's a pretty familiar trope. something came along and happened, and suddenly everything is peaceful and silent, and there's a lot fewer of those noisy little critters around. Let's see what it was. King COVID. Up until now, when you said they worshipped it, it was just metaphorically. It wasn't literal. Which has me thinking of the meaning of Corona as a circle of light, like a halo, and Lucifer, the Lightbringer. It's kind of an interesting symbolism.
Hey, you know me. The whole world knows me. No, that's not me. I'm not a cube and I'm not yellow. I'm not mechanical.
What the fuck are they talking about? I feel like I'm missing out on an inside joke.
I'm not a cube and I'm not yellow.
I'm organic. I've got this outside hull of limpid fat. I've got all these spike proteins sticking out of me. This is my RNA, ribonucleic acid. Even though my RNA is only a single strand, you've got to admit I'm a force to be reckoned with. I'm the corona, not that corona.
That better not get you a lawsuit, CBC. I don't want to pay for that.
I'm the corona, not that corona. I wear the crown. I'm the king of viruses.
The king of viruses. What a joke. The king only in that it's the most exalted of all the viruses. It's the only virus that gets praise and worship. Other than I guess HIV gets some. They have their bug chasers and aficionados and rights groups.
In the past, you called me after symptoms, after the land of your enemies.
Spain was neutral. What, you think the US held a grudge for a 8-month-long war that happened 20 years prior and the rest of the world just went along with it?
After the assumed source,
China.
This time, your virus experts gave me a real name. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, King COVID. Happy birthday to me.
I hope you all burn in hell for doing this to the world.
I may be small, but I'm mighty. How small? This amoeba is one single cell. Beside it, this bacterium is tiny. I am even smaller. Until the late 1930s, when you invented electron microscopes, you couldn't even see us viruses. Now you study me, name me, but you can't control me.
I thought we could control viruses. I thought that was the whole point of vaccines, although we're now learning that vaccines don't mean that you don't have to wear a mask or that you can go and travel. But didn't we use vaccines to exterminate smallpox? Don't we allegedly prevent the annual flu, although we haven't come close to exterminating that, except for this year. This year we've come pretty close to exterminating the annual flu, apparently. And it didn't even require vaccinations.
The difference between us viruses and all the other creatures is that you get born. Not me. Some say I'm not even a living thing.
Some people even say that you don't exist and that the only contagion is mental.
To reproduce, I need to find a host.
I mean, to each their own, man, but I don't know why you like to reproduce with octogenarians.
I use my spike protein to infect creatures like you.
Dude, I wouldn't touch her with your spike protein. You're disgusting.
And unfortunately, you get damaged in the process. Don't expect me to apologize. You humans are the deadliest beings on the planet.
But they also show school children in England, and they have similar videos here. Well, you saw the video last year where, are you going to cut your carbon footprint? And the kids say no, so they blow the kids up in the class. Remember that? If you didn't see it, just type in green ads show kids exploding. It's all an anti-human agenda. But here's one of more than 10 videos they show children. And you think it's a joke, but this is everything sustainable development does. This is not a joke made to make them look bad. This is a video made by the London Guardian in association with the British government for sustainability. Here it is.
Are you ready to go? Have you got your calorie card open on your smartphone? I registered your visit with Slick Travel Corp the other day, so they've allotted you a journey time to match mine. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Switch off brain and go to work. With this many people around, I'm glad there's a mega computer in charge. We're so lucky. Our kids were allocated a school quite near my practice, so I can drop them off on the way. It saves on our calorie ration. Well, it won't be long until the little darlings get their career announcements. They've been working so hard, so I'm sure they'll get something good. Not that there's anything wrong with fixing carbon scrubbers for a living or anything. Are you hungry? Let's pop to the market as we're past. Right, what's on the menu this month? No, not meat. It's not your birthday. The Global Food Council are doing a really good job of keeping food production going.
All right, let's stop right there as our guest is here. There are 20 or 30, I haven't counted, of these videos. And the families aren't allowed to live in single-parent homes. No meat's allowed. You're not allowed to have a car. And this is all officially what the UN and our own government says they're setting up. You have to understand, people see these videos and they think this is a joke. No, this is what they're showing kids. So you're an adult and have formed your own opinions back when we were more free. For a child, they just watch this and think, well, that's normal. Just like kids growing up under Hitler thought it was normal, or kids under the Aztecs thought cutting people's hearts out was normal. Going back to our guest, please continue, Rosa Corey, author and researcher, exposing Agenda 21, this total revolution against humanity by the bureaucratic tyrant eugenics class.
That clip was from 2012. On a long enough timeline, Alex Jones is always right.
As creatures crawled out of the primordial soup, us viruses were there too.
I don't know, maybe CBC couldn't figure out how to get copyright music or something, but there's these giant, long, silent sequences in here. Maybe they think they're Stanley Kubrick, but at least it makes it easier to comment over.
We all evolved together. Us viruses have poked into you, infected you, we nudged you along. It's thanks to us you've become as strong as you are.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Viruses have helped accelerate evolutionary rates. They help immune systems develop. And while some viruses can cause cancers, I've also seen evidence that viruses can reduce cancer rates or cause immunal responses that reduce cancer rates. The problem with vaccines, and especially vaccines that can mess with DNA, is that when we homogenize...
But something has gone terribly wrong.
All of the human DNA and all of our resistance mechanisms, we lose the benefits of these adaptive evolutions from viruses. And that's if we don't run into greater problems, such as the twins who were given a gene therapy while in the womb that made them resistant to HIV. What was done is they crippled the beta thalassemia gene. And when you have two crippled beta thalassemia genes, you have a sickness similar to sickle cell disease. And so that is Bill Gates' solution to HIV infections. And once this crippled gene, you might get by with one of them that gives you a resistance to HIV. But once those people start reproducing, then you're going to end up with diseased people. If they can reproduce at all, or will be allowed to by the state. Alex Jones says the government wants to ban single-family homes. What a lunatic. And then 8 years later, you're looking at this from a completely different government in a completely different world.
1% of your people owns 50% of your wealth. You said it yourself. The whole planet is close to extinction.
They say those two things as if they're connected. 1% of people have 50% of wealth, and the planet's close to extinction. As if those two things have any interrelation at all, and they're just de facto true. Now, a lot of this comes down to a misunderstanding of what wealth is. Most people talk about wealth, it's actually asset value, which is based on the stock market, which is an arbitrary market cap. So Tesla lost, $10 billion or more when Elon Musk smoked a joint on Joe Rogan's show. And that was just perceptions, arbitrary value. Maybe he'd lose a contract, but it's not real money in anyone's hand. And if, say, Jeff Bezos or whoever, a trillionaire, were to start selling 10% of his Amazon, well, everything else, the next 90% he held, would lose probably half of its value. And every bit more that he sold from there, investor confidence would fail and the system would collapse, and his actual amount of money in hand by the end of it would likely be under $100 billion. And that's for the entire enterprise of Amazon, that gives you cheap goods in a day or two with free delivery. And this is the great evil of our times. Amazon's been on the public market for 23 years. If you had just invested in it, you'd be 2,500 times richer now. But you didn't do that, and you still aren't doing that. You could do that any day. But rather than take a stake in the world and make something out of it, you want to take from those who have been productive and reallocate it to those who are likely to destroy that wealth, who aren't going to be efficient with it, and who frankly have every other opportunity to gain wealth other than taking it from other people or undermining successful enterprises. Because what does more cash in your pocket mean if all of your consumer goods have gone up? Here you can see the editor did a Google Images search for extinct animals or endangered animals. Things are so bad, they've been species going extinct every minute since I was a child or whatever. I'm sure you remember them saying that too. I haven't heard those claims anymore lately, but apparently so many animals are going extinct that we're looking back at the dodo bird and the woolly mammoth still. Those are our prime examples.
The Earth's crust was actually shaking.
What?
Until I stopped you.
What are you talking about? Are they serious?
When I forced a shutdown, seismologists were able to hear the Earth's most subtle rumbling.
I was literally shaking? Is this trusting the science? Were we draining all the mako out? What the fuck is going on? Oh, the yellow circles are coming for us, but I'm not a yellow square. Don't come get me. What the fuck is this?
What good is it being the superior being if there's no longer an empire? King COVID had to step in.
King COVID had to step in. What a nice guy, really benevolent, really helping us out. Don't believe me? We're about to hear all about it. All about how benevolent King COVID is, how benevolent our new emperor is now that our old empire is collapsed apparently. All kneel before King COVID. Or do you think King COVID is the superior being they're talking about?
What good is it being the superior being if there's no longer an empire? King COVID had to step in. Okay, I'll acknowledge it. When we unleash ourselves, it causes death and tragedy for you guys. But every pandemic brings change. Take the Black Plague. It arrived in Europe in 1347. At that time, most of the population were powerless feudal workers.
Fast forward to 2020 when most of the population are powerless service workers.
These serfs were exploited by the elite kings, the absolute owners of land. The church and its religious leaders had enormous power too. They kept ancient knowledge to themselves, away from the largely illiterate populace.
I'm sure that's an oversimplification, but whatever, I'm not, a big defender of religion.
The plague did not discriminate between classes. It killed almost half of the people in Europe. After it played out, wages went up because of the shortage of labor.
I don't agree that a shortage of labor explains fully the increase in wages. Like you said, the plague didn't discriminate against classes, and it killed such a large portion of the population that the resulting redistribution of wealth both increased free capital and also increased the efficiency of, say, consolidated parcels of land and greater centralization of wealth, the opposite of your premise.
There was a power shift, a new rising middle class.
What if I said that growing middle class was caused by the guild system and not, the Black Plague and a shortage of labor alone? So, in theory, the less labor, the more wealth for everyone? That's how it works?
The classical ancient texts were wrestled from the clergy elite and translated from Latin, so all people had access to ancient knowledge.
The Black Plague translated the Bible or something? I don't know. But speaking of the ancient knowledge, I guess the COVID's a true believer.
Musicians rediscovered melody. Artists reclaimed ancient techniques for sculpture, drawing, and painting with perspective. Medicine, previously based on astrology, became more empirical, based on observation and experience.
Well, finally, there's one point that makes sense. I'm sure they had a lot of experience dealing with dead bodies.
You moved from the Dark Ages into the light of the Renaissance. Now, which direction will you take?
Here, we seem to be seeing a reenactment of the French Revolution. This next part needs no explanation. Watch the world crumble, be destroyed. A great reset.
Like mushrooms with their mycelium lattice, everyone is seeking connection.
No, I'm not going to base my society along the lines of the mushroom.
Eventually, the reign of King COVID will be over. My pandemic will be history. Hey, if we survive all this, just don't forget who gets the credit.
So if we survive all of this overpopulation and environmental damage, don't forget who gets the credit. The COVID-19 virus gets the credit. It was necessary to stop all of these greater disasters. And I mean, this is the stuff that conspiracy theorists, including, I guess, myself, have been saying for months now, ever since this whole thing started. They couldn't even wait to hold back the environmentalist propaganda for a week after the lockdowns. And so, King COVID saves the planet. Absolutely disgusting. Propaganda made by the Canadian government. Beige power, yo, am I right? This video is probably more shareable than most of mine, so if you liked it, if you got to hear, post it on your social media, do something like that. Get me some views, I'd really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.
So listen up, alt-right, white supreme Nazi. Not gonna happen, disappointed you'll be. So embrace the beige, mixy mix today. Whether you're straight or gay, put your hate away. Beige power, mixy mix, arousing. Gonna look the same by the year 3000. Beige power, can't fool us with hate. This is Canada, bitch, we already great. Peace and lentils, y'all.